Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
The road to the NBA Finals ends here, with star guards setting the tone. The Cavs eye another upset, while the Knicks carry the dreams of all of New York. The Eastern Conference Finals continue on ESPN and ABC.
I just decided that I'd got to try and prove to people that I could do more than just jump around on stage. And
hello, and welcome to another new episode of Live Through That. I'm your host, Mike Hipple, and on this podcast, we dig a little deeper into the pivotal moments that shaped the lives of some of my favorite artists from the 80s and 90s. And I just wanted to mention one more time that the podcast is quickly approaching our 100th episode, and we've got a special episode planned for that I'm so excited to share with you, so please be sure to subscribe so that you won't miss an episode. And tell your friends about us and share on social media as well. It always helps. Now, this week we have Jonn Penney from the band Ned's Atomic Dustbin on the show. Few bands captured the restless energy of the early 90s British indie scene quite like Ned's Atomic Dustbin. With their twin bass attack, amazing live shows, and a debut album that turned heads on both sides of the Atlantic, they burned bright. But none of that may have happened had John's father not bought a new house. Intrigued? Listen on to hear more.
it's 1990, July 1990, and I'm on tour. We're doing the Killer Television tour, and I'm high on life. The band are high on life. You know, we've got a #1 indie single in the UK. We're on the covers of Enemy and Melody Maker, the biggest music press in the country. We're selling out shows for the first time in our lives. We're seeing the possibility of some money coming into our bank accounts to be able to live and to be actual working musicians. That the band might be a career. That the appeal was there. You know, we're seeing our T-shirts everywhere, and we're loving our youth, the ability to play 4 or 5 shows on the trot, sweat ourselves to death in a rammed out, packed out little club full of people singing our songs back to us, be able to go and have a few beers after, stay up late, get up the next day and go again, no problem, because we've got youth on our side. There were great times, but I'm still at the time living at home with my father. I haven't moved out, and I'm not spending a great deal of time there. But okay, so one of the nights we've played somewhere that's near enough to home that we've come home instead of staying away. I come home to my house in Quarry Bank. Quarry Bank is the correct name, but in my local lingo, it's Quarry Bank, is where I grew up. And I go to bed at something crazy in the morning, 4 in the morning or something. I get up early to have a cup of tea, see if my dad's about, and I think he's getting ready to leave for work. He's, oh, hello, you're here. I don't see you much. It's good that you're here, you know. I've got a bit of news for you. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, what's going on then, Dad? Well, I've sold the house. Oh, okay. Right. I didn't know you were thinking about that, but I guess I haven't been around much. So fair enough. Good stuff. Right. Okay. I mean, I wasn't massively surprised because my dad had lived through 2 divorces in that house. It wasn't the happiest of places for him, I shouldn't think, in terms of memory. I think he probably wanted a clean break from his past, put some things behind him. So the fact that he'd thought about selling the house wasn't a surprise. The fact he'd done it was a surprise. But I said, okay, then great. Well, great. So where are we going to live? And he said, well, I've bought myself a lovely little 1-bedroom flat in Wordsley, just up the road. It's really nice, really pleased. Got a lovely place, and it's in a nice area. Really, really chuffed with that. And I say, so you say a 1-bedroom flat? Yeah. Well, it's about as much as I could afford in the area it's in. Oh, okay. Well, so where am I sleeping, Dad? Well, I don't know. I don't know. Boom. Reality comes and lands fair and square on my shoulders. So, okay, this is the point in life where you actually realize you're an adult and you got to go find somewhere to live, and you've got to go find the money to pay for that place to live. You've got to feed yourself. You've got to wash all your own clothes, although at the time I'd been washing all the family clothes at the laundromat down the road because our washing machine was broken, by the way. But you got to do all these things. You're actually an adult, and here's reality, and that was proper shocking. And of course, set against the wild old time I was having on the road in rock and roll land, Planet Rock. So stark contrast, and also, of course, the problem that while I'm on the road all the time and I'm going from shows to studios to God knows what, at a time when there's no mobile phones, there's no internet, there's no way of finding out places to live other than directories and word of mouth, learning all the business about paying bills, setting yourself up with power and all that kind of stuff. Really quite a challenge to get onto all that sort of stuff. So a real shocking time, and I guess I was very upset because I suppose I felt like I was at the top of a fantastic ladder, and then someone had just knocked all the rungs off below me, and I'm kind of dangling dangerously there at the top. So I wrote a song about it, and the song I wrote about it was Happy. It was unlike other songs that we'd written. A lot of the songs that we wrote, we'd have two kind of fairly disparate ideas would come into the rehearsal room, and we would try and find a way to bully them into working together. We'd stitch them together very loosely. We'd have a curmudgeonly way to somehow get ideas that shouldn't be together to work together. But Happy was different. Alex came in and he had the riffs for the entire song. So it came together really, really quickly. And I don't remember much about the actual writing of that song. It just seemed to fall into place. I always wrote words on the spot in the rehearsal room. I never wrote outside the room. So I wrote what the music inspired me to write there and then on the spot. And the words for Happy came together super quick on the back of this experience I just had with my father. And so the words, we have a house where I'm in your hair, I'll go spare and leave you happy. That's the core of what this song is all about. Now the other tipping point really is out of the creation of that song Happy, because the first time we played it live was at a live BBC Radio 1 show at a club called the Zap Club in Brighton, and we played it in soundcheck. And playing it in soundcheck was the pivotal point. That was the point, because we played it and it felt so perfect. And at that moment in time, it felt to me, physically and mentally felt to me like we'd just taken a giant stride forwards as a band in terms of songwriting, in terms of output. It felt we'd kind of gone up a league, and that something really quite significant had just happened. And so I suppose the major labels were coming to see us a lot at the time, and they will have heard this live. And I'm guessing that hearing a song like this probably helped to switch people like Sony onto wanting to sign us they could maybe see we got more than 3 chords, and there was a little more to us. And of course, the irony is that that single then became our first top 20 single in the UK on Sony Music. So it kind of made us arrive in the big league, led to Godfather, our first album, being in the top 5, and all inspired by that pivotal moment in my life where my dad had invited reality to the door and said, okay, off you go into the world, my boy. And my shock and some anger at the time, through catharsis, had kind of cemented my career in music for a few years.
So did you ever tell your dad this story?
No, I've never told my dad that story, and I never will. Yeah. Yeah, I would never tell him that was the case. I don't think my father would deserve the possible hurt he might feel from it. I mean, essentially what I'm saying is he gave me one of the best songs that we ever wrote, and that's a fantastic thing. That's a happy accident. Do you like that one? But I wouldn't want him to have any guilt about it. You know, his divorces caused all of us a lot of pain, and I think they, in some way, attuned me to a sensitivity of people's emotions. You know, I think those early disruptions to my cozy life as was, where things just kind of all completely disappeared and changed, and my exposure to like the raw emotions of divorce, I think tuned me into to people's emotions, turned me into a bit of a people washer, made me kind of think, well, that must be a bit of a car crash mentally. I wonder how those people feel, you know. And I kind of got into the habit with my lyrics of envisaging a situation and then kind of putting myself in the shoes of the people in that situation, and then kind of putting my protagonists through hell, really, through song. Just kind of wondering how's that going to be for people. So for me, all that kind of hurt and early disruption from my life has given me the greatest things that I've achieved in life. But my dad might not see it that way. He might just see that the things that he'd lived through had hurt me, and I wouldn't want him to have any guilt about that.
Okay, we're going to take a little quick break here to introduce you to a friend of the pod.
Cast your mind back to your formative tween years. Did you maybe have a poster of your fave teen heartthrob on your wall? Did you maybe dabble in a little bit of fan fiction? Maybe you secretly thought that if you could just meet your celebrity crush, they would fall in love with you? My name is Allegra, and I've made it my mission to understand how we get sucked into fandoms. I believe that the media that we consumed as children plays a huge part in our lives. So, every other week, we revisit one huge cultural phenomena from our formative years. Come listen to Stan on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're back. Ned's Atomic Dustbin released their debut album Godfather in 1991 to immediate success, driven by that song Happy and also Grace L. Green, which helped break the band in America. They spent the next several years touring the world and followed up with 2 more albums, Are You Normal in 1992 and Brain Blood Volume in 1995. The band broke up that same year. What happened?
Okay, so the reason the band broke up, when we were trying to write the last album, I think that we'd kind of, all of us, reached an age where we'd arrived at the person that we were going to be for the rest of our adult lives. And I think up to that point, we'd all still been growing, you know, and everything that we'd done together pretty much had been a success. It had been a real snowball of success rolling down a hill, you know. So okay, we've written a great song, we've filled a venue full of people, we've released a record, the record's done well, we're in the papers, major labels are interested in us, we've hit the charts, we've gone to America, we've gone to Australia, we've gone to Japan, we've been around Europe, we've been on MTV, and every other day another success that being in this band together had brought for us. And we'd got used to being together, but we'd also been growing into the people that we were going to be. And I think that by the time we got to writing the third album, we had taken on board so much stuff individually and as a group that it became really difficult for us to agree mutually on ideas that we were working on. We had got so disparate in our kind of thinking in terms of styles that we wanted to pursue, instruments we wanted to play, themes we wanted to adopt, that it just became impossible for us to collaborate anymore. And there wasn't any great fight going on. There wasn't any enormous ill feeling going on. There wasn't blame associated. We just kind of lost the ability to write songs together. And then we managed to bluster through and get the third album written, which was very, very difficult to do. And ironically, I think some of our best work actually came out of that. And then when it came to touring that, one of us wasn't well enough to go on tour. So we went off to America without Rat. And the record label, on the day that we landed for a 7-week tour of the States, declared that they wanted to drop us, that they were going to drop us from the label. So we then had a 7-week American tour, at the end of which none of us had any idea what our future was going to be, because our record label had dropped us. And, had we been thick as thieves and had the writing for the last album gone fantastically well and been easy, we may well have found a way to stick together and get through and find another label, find our way. But we just didn't have that strength. We weren't solid enough as a unit, and we were tired. So the option was to let it go, and that's what we all decided to do.
What did you do after the band's breakup?
But they were very tough times, probably for all of us. But we kind of drifted apart and got on with the pain individually in our own ways. I found it extremely difficult. I frequented the pub a lot, trying to get my head around what the guy who's a rock star 2 weeks ago is now unemployed with no income and no serious prospect of anything in the near future. What on earth does that guy do? So I had tough times. I had trouble facing it. In the end, I just decided that I'd got to try and prove to people that I could do more than just jump around on stage and whine a bit about emotional things. So I went and did a degree, and I went and studied. And that kind of brought me back into music, because I ended up getting a job with one of my favourite venues at Wolverhampton Civic Hall, where the Neds used to play. We used to play lots of shows there. And I got into the promotion side of things, and that's pretty much what I'm still doing, But yes, they were very, very tough times. Some of us chose to pretend it had never happened. My attitude for a good 2 or 3 years after we split up was that I just got lucky. We just got lucky. We were no great shakes as a band. I wasn't that great a singer. My lyrics weren't that great. Nothing special. We just rode our luck, and then in the end, luck found us out, and it all came apart, and reality came knocking, and the real world came to our door, And that was very much my attitude about it for a good 2 or 3 years after we'd split up. But then things happened. Someone suggested that we do a reunion. I fancied it, but I thought it would probably fall flat on its face, that nobody would be interested. And I was proved incredibly wrong. when I think it was 5,000 people turned up at an outdoor thing in Dudley Zoo, our nearby zoo that was near to a venue we used to play a lot in the early days. And I realised that actually what we'd done did have some significance, and people did have an appetite for it, and more importantly, so did I. So we kind of got ourselves back together.
And that was in 2008?
Well, actually, in 2003, myself, Alex, and Dan did a reunion. Matt and Rat at the time weren't ready to jump back into the fold. They didn't really want to do it. We did it with a couple of friends in the band. But then in 2008, Matt and Rat came back into the fold, and we've been the original lineup ever since.
Would you guys consider making more music together?
It's a big, fat, disappointing no. I don't think that the issues we had on writing the last album will have all of a sudden disappeared into nothing. But also, we all have careers that we can't walk away from. And the dynamic with Ned's songwriting that would never change is that we would be stood in a room with each other for a good few hours, and we would need the time to allow the ideas to get jammed through and to come together there and then on the spot. We never wrote things outside of the rehearsal room other than the occasional riff. So it all had to come together in the rehearsal space. And it just isn't practically possible for us to write songs that way. None of us have the time, So sadly, in some respects, I like to be creative. I wrote an album with Dan 2 years ago under the guise of Spares. I wanted to know whether I could still write songs. I can still write songs, and I felt great about being able to, but can I still write Ned's songs? Well, not unless 4 other people are able to spend the time and have the commitment toward it. And even then, would we be able to agree? Would those ideas solidify sufficiently to turn into songs? I don't know. And we get on great these days because there's no pressure, There's no pressure for us to do anything other than what we know we're good at. We know we can do a good show. And we know that our crowd are lovely, lovely people. We have an appreciation for each other. We love our audience. They love us. And those shows are just a wonderful celebration of the songs, of the times, of the people. Just wonderful celebrations, and we love doing them. Yeah. We love each other's company. We love the company of the fans. It's just great.
Thanks to Jonn for talking with us today and bearing with me during a few technical problems that we had on this episode. He's got a new book coming out this month called Self-ish, and I've got a link to where you can purchase that in the show notes. Stick around next time for our 100th anniversary special show. We've got lots of surprises planned for that one. And I'll end with another quick reminder that you can buy my book on 80s musicians and where they are today, 80s Redux, and its sequel, Live Through That, on 90s artists, wherever you buy your books. And if you like this show, please leave a review where you're listening. It always helps others find us. And of course, subscribe so that you won't miss an episode. Thanks for listening.